how many businesses are currently running that are not profitable?
I would say, I mean, I don't have a statistic for you, but a lot. And the problem with that is many of those businesses don't know that they're not profitable because they have money in the checking account. So,
Yes.
you can have an account that has, a ton of deposits that they've taken, but they haven't done any work. They think they
Right.
have a ton of money and they're doing great. Really,
Right.
you don't have any income.
Welcome to the Cooler Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Kuehlhorn, and I'm excited to have you join me as I interview community members and business leaders from the communities in which I live, work, and serve through my business Cooler Garage doors. We're going to bring you highlights on characters in our communities. Why? Because community matters, and I want to know more about who is behind our business and leadership in order to understand and support the community fabric that our relationships make up. And collectively, we can build stronger communities that support our lifestyles, our youth, and our health.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Cooler Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Kuehlhorn. Today I've got my friend Heather Starke. She is a business owner and partner with Kare CFO, also running her Starke Business Services, really helping business owners gain clarity on their numbers, bookkeeping, optics. I'm really excited for this conversation. Heather, thanks for joining.
Of course. Happy to be here.
Yeah. Tell me, where are you beaming in from right now?
All right. Well, I am in a tiny town in upstate New York called Fort Edward, and I moved to this bustling metropolis from the next town over where I grew up, a little tiny town called Argyle, New York. And bonus points to anybody who's ever heard of it, because they haven't.
Wow. So small town growing up.
Oh, absolutely. We have, let's see, 4,000 people, 10,000 cows, no traffic signals, and one school for kindergarten through 12. If that gives you a picture of, the country life.
Yeah. Did that give you a lot of freedom as a kid? Like, were you an adventurer? Did you just leave the house and come back?
I mean, there was not really too many places to go when you left the house.
Okay.
So your nearest neighbor's a country mile away, and town was 2.5 miles from where I lived. So that was quite the walk if you wanted to get anywhere. But we did other things. We had so many farms that there's just so many things you can do on a farm. whether it be, go around, explore, play with animals, through your garden, whatever.
Yeah. Right on. All right. Well, we're going to, for the listener, kind of frame this out, add a little context. I've been working with Heather. She's been amazing assistance in getting us clarity on our numbers. And I want to talk about bookkeeping and get into some of the nitty gritty here. Before I do that, Heather, can you give us just a little context to your journey? Like, how did you get here? What brought bookkeeping and, this skill set into your realm?
So I went to school for business and technology management. And I also have a random other degree in English literature, like who does that? But I used the business and technology management degree in accounting all the time. So when I graduated from college, I actually went into medical device design. So that was a little off from the path that I thought I would be on. But I wanted to go into sales. So I was actually in inside sales for a medical device company. And from there, I moved on to outside sales with, oddly enough, went from medical devices to sanding machines, industrial sanding machines for metal and wood and abrasives. So I sold sandpaper for a while.
Yeah.
And from there, I actually hooked up with the Chamber of Commerce. And I was at the Chamber of Commerce in membership sales for quite some time, and that allowed me to build an extensive network. And I kept hearing from business owners that it was extremely difficult to understand their financials. Then after maternity leave, I decided to start my business. So I started Starke Business Services, and that was a small bookkeeping firm.
Yeah.
And I focused on 0 to 500,000. So the people who were either just starting out or in an early growth phase of their business. So helping a lot of people with a lot of things. And I was able to utilize that network from the chamber to be able to provide them resources other than bookkeeping. So basically, if you need something, do not consult Google. Talk to me, and I will refer you to someone that I've sat down with, that I know, that I trust.
Yeah.
I vet
Love
the
that.
good weirdos from the bad weirdos, so I have an entire tribe of good weirdos.
I love that. So yeah, I guess one thing I didn't recognize was a little bit more of the holistic value that you can bring.
Yep.
Like based on your background, a lot of sales, but a just really wide network. What I know about you is just a super friendly human that likes to get to know people.
Charismatic accountant. That's like a unicorn, or it's seeing big.
Charismatic accountant. Yeah. So, let's talk a little bit for business owners. What have you seen, when you're hearing from folks that say, I'm struggling with my numbers, what does that really mean? What have you seen on a practical basis where business owners are maybe falling short or not paying enough attention? Like, what are some of the pieces there?
It's funny because we actually call that living out of the checking account. So instead of paying attention, doing proper bookkeeping, doing forecasting, things of that nature, most business owners are too busy to focus on that themselves, especially as they're growing. So you're trying to run your business. How are you going to sit down and do all the accounting for your business yourself as well? So essentially, living out of the checking account is, do I have enough money in my checking account to pay my employees and pay my expenses, pay my bills? If the answer is yes, usually the detailed bookkeeping and accounting goes by the wayside until tax season, when everybody panics. Okay. So with having somebody dedicated to the bookkeeping and accounting for the business, the owner is able to focus on the business and not get to a point where they're like, oh my gosh, I've been living out of the checking account. Now there's nothing in the checking account. What do I do?
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to be in that position.
Totally. Cash versus accrual.
Oh boy, this is a good one.
We have to open this container. Because,
okay.
Honestly, to add some context, like I thought I was running books on accrual. I've had bookkeepers in my past, and what was the light was shined on my books when you came in, and I was also bringing in Kare CFO at that time, and I wasn't running on full accrual. Maybe some of it was like a hybrid.
Yes. So most businesses under 2.5 million will run on a cash basis, and I've seen larger businesses that are still running on a cash basis. A cash basis is essentially the equivalent of living out of the checking account. So it's just more carefully tracked. So that's the actual money exchanged in and out on the day that it happens. And that's how most people think. So, you're saying, oh, well, I paid it on this day. Obviously, it's going to get logged on this day. That's not how accrual works. So accrual works with unpaid invoices and unpaid expenses recorded on the day that they come in, and also spread out over time. So let's say January 1st, you get a bill for $1,200, and that's for the year. Cash says that's $1,200 on January 1st. Accrual says that is $1,000 a month over 12 months. So it's forecasted over time rather than $1,200 on one date.
Why does that matter?
That helps you to project how much you're actually spending. So if you had kept it on that cash basis, that would look like $1,200 a month expense. rather than it's actually $1,000 a month because it covers that span of time. And it also works the same way with income. So say you take a deposit for a job that's a couple months down the road. You haven't actually earned that yet. That job could cancel,
Right.
and you don't want to count that as income. That's what we call unrecognized revenue. So that doesn't actually belong in your forecast because you haven't earned it yet.
Right. That one is a big one. And I think I could speak to a lot of listeners, especially if they're in home services, which I know a few folks are. But I think this applies anywhere, especially if there's a larger ticket sale where a deposit's collected. And my experience has been early on, I had the fortunate ability to scale pretty quick, but that also uses a lot of cash. And I was using deposits to run my operations, which is putting the business at risk because you're right, those could cancel.
Mm-hmm.
That's not earned revenue. And so by going to a true accrual, it's a more refined system that can track the money accurately so you know what is earned and can be touched and what should not be touched.
Yep. Just because that money is in your checking account does not mean that it's going to stay there and that you can actually use it.
Right. Okay. So you mentioned that businesses under 2.5, a lot of times typically run as cash. I mean, should they? Or should it always be both?
Other people's opinion. My opinion is that everybody should be on accrual, no matter what size they are, because you can't accurately do projections on a cash basis. Cash does work for small businesses because that's how the owner's brain operates. So you're a solopreneur, you are probably on a cash basis because, well, that money came out of the checking account, that money went into the checking account.
Yeah.
But as far as future planning goes and actually knowing what you have in your business, accrual's the way to go.
So accrual, I would say, not to diss any small solopreneur by any means, but it's the more professional financial literacy layer. Like it is financial literacy. That's ultimately what we're talking about. So as we gain the acumen of business, of financial literacy, accrual is the game that the big players play. If anyone's building to get acquired or looking at acquisitions, accrual is going to be the game. If anybody wants to take their numbers and look at a comparison of an industry benchmark, that's got to be accrual.
Yep.
Right.
And also, depending on what software you use, I'm a QuickBooks shop, so I use QuickBooks Online. You're actually able to pull cash reports even if you're on accrual.
Totally.
So that's even if you're on accrual and you want to look at cash reports, you still can.
Yeah.
And a cash report is also your bank statement.
Right. Yeah. I think the other thing, from my perspective for accrual, like we have lead time. So I'll make a sale in January and not have everything go through until June at the very latest, let's just say, for contrast. But I might have material expense land in March. And if I have my stuff running on cash, it might look like I'm losing everything in March because that's when all my expense went out.
Yep.
And I'm winning the whole farm in June because that's when I'm realizing everything. Yet it's not giving me an accurate picture. There's no way I can do job costing with that.
Yes. And it also helps you to kind of plan what expenses are coming up.
That's right. What else have you seen in your journeys working with small business that would be of value? Like what are some maybe low-hanging fruit or maybe some mid-hanging fruit that you're like, oh, if more small businesses did this or knew about this?
Well, hire bookkeeper at the very least. That's like the number one thing. I actually, I see startups that the first thing they do is say, hey, you know what? I'm not ready for a full service financial person. Can you teach me how to do this? Can you be on call for any problems? Can you do a review? Like, yes, just because you're not ready for full service doesn't mean that you can't ask for help and ask for people to review what you've been doing. I always encourage people to, have somebody else look at your books. I have other people look at the books that I do, just to make sure. I mean, you get tunnel vision. I did it. Of course it's right. No.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a couple other people look at this as well, just to make sure that I didn't overlook something or somebody has a different perspective on it. So it's very, very important to actually review your financials and make sure that everything is aligned and that you understand. Education is key. So like I said, a lot of times owners get busy and things get overlooked. And the finances go by the wayside because as long as they have enough money to pay the bills, they're good, right?
Right.
So yeah, definitely having another set of eyes is always good as far as financials go. And on a side note, your network. The more people that you can meet and the more people that you can have as a resource, not only for yourself, but for other people, that comes back. So as an example, I networked all the time. I met as many people as I could. I never, ever networked for clients. I always networked for resources. I networked to find out how I could help other people and how other people could help other people. When I started my business in the first place, I didn't know me as a bookkeeper. Nobody knew me as a bookkeeper, but they knew me as a person. They knew that I was going to do what it took and that I would do an excellent job for them no matter what. So I never advertised. I reached out to my network that I had developed relationships with, and I told them, hey, you know what? Here's what I'm doing now. I'm just starting out. If you know anybody who needs any help, let me know. And I was able to actually replace my salary within the first 3 months with new clients that people had sent to me on referral, which was amazing. Like, that's unheard of. I'm so grateful to my network, and I'm so thankful that I spent the time to do that. Like, just get to know people and have a coffee meeting. Like, we all love coffee, right? Maybe tea, but get to know as many people as possible and network for resources. Don't network for clients. The clients will come if you treat people correctly.
I love that. I love that perspective. Great tips there. Do you have any top of mind resources for the owner that's looking for that financial education?
Yes. Depending on size. A lot of bookkeepers are a great resource. And also CFOs. So depending on the size of the business, whether they need CFO services or not, but the CFOs are going to elevate to the next level of understanding your business and being able to come up with those KPIs and projections. So that's definitely key to a business that's in the next stage of growth, for sure.
Love that. Real quick. So bookkeeper, if I was to define it, and I'm bouncing this off of you, so correct me where I need it, but bookkeeper comes in, really gives clarification and optics, and the right bookkeeper is going to put the right things in the right place. The CFO is going to be able to come in at a time where a company wants to grow, maybe past that first 7-figure zone into multiple 7 figures, to be able to project. This is like looking at benchmarks and cash flows and really putting some projections in play to kind of map out the next level.
Yep. And you actually kind of just described the signature process.
How about that?
So I have a partner. She is a CFO. We have a business. It's called Kare CFO. And what that does is exactly what you just described. So we're looking for a solution for businesses in like the second stage of growth. So they're making revenue over $500,000. They are looking for financial clarity. They want to be able to make informed business decisions based on their financials. So what happens with the signature process? It's called the Profit Pathfinder. And the Profit Pathfinder, we start with me. So we come in and we take a look at the books and see where they're at. Sometimes books are good, need a couple of little tweaks. Sometimes we need a full scale cleanup to get to where we need to be. We need to switch the account from cash to accrual, and make sure that all the numbers are in order. So yeah, everything starts with the books. From there, we write policies and procedures and make sure that the policies and procedures are in place, so that the bookkeeping and accounting can be consistent. Then from there, we take over the bookkeeping and do that daily work that needs to be done to keep the books maintained. Then we educate, right? We sit down with the business owner. We have regular meetings. We teach them how to understand and know their financial statements. Give them that education that they need to be able to make those decisions. And from there, the CFO work starts. So this is a whole journey.
It is a journey. Yes.
And the CFO works on the KPIs, the growth strategy, the projections, things of that nature. So definitely an elevation of just understanding to make informed decisions. We're actually planning growth. We understand our books are good. We understand what we're doing, and then we move on from there. How are we going to grow? So it's definitely something we're excited to do. I mean, it's a comprehensive solution for businesses who want to take it to the next step.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's absolutely critical, right? Like from my experience, for the last several years, like I mentioned, I scaled quick. I got to 1.2, 1.5 level, and I got stuck there. I couldn't figure out how to get beyond.
Right.
And part of that is a capacity. Like I call it the Bermuda Triangle of business. Like for home service at 1.5, like that's danger zone. That's just where things are big enough to provide some resources, but almost too small to be able to get all the resources.
Exactly.
And stuff got just really wild and wonky, and it's forced me to get really clear, and that's all super, super healthy. I think my journey is beautiful for that. And then in engaging your services and getting some real clarity and real optics has helped us move beyond that. And I think we'll see this, play into 2024. We're just on this path going forward, and it feels really, really good. What I'm hearing out of this is, for a business owner, simply to be humble enough, be like, in order to scale my business, it's financial literacy that I need.
Yep.
It's not necessarily operations. Like I know how to turn this wrench on the door. I need financial literacy in order to utilize my resources and track my resources in an optimal way that I can allocate projections and put a path forward. And I guess I
find that it's kind of hard for some business owners to relinquish that control, because you start a business to try to generate a profit. So to have somebody come in and tell you how to do that after you've spent, however many years building your business is kind of a difficult thing to grapple with for some people. What we try to do, we try to talk to people like they're people and let them know, like, hey, we're here to help. Like, this is our area of expertise.
Here's a question for you with your chamber background and what you've seen. Like, do you have any stats? You can make it up if you want. But like out of the number of businesses, there's stats in there that says, the majority are not going to go past 1 year. The majority aren't going to go past 5 years and be in business. Like, how many businesses are currently running that are not profitable?
I would say, I mean, I don't have a statistic for you, but a lot. And the problem with that is many of those businesses don't know that they're not profitable because they have money in the checking account. So,
Yes.
you can have an account that has, a ton of deposits that they've taken, but they haven't done any work. They think they have a ton of money and they're doing great. Really, you don't have any income because you haven't earned it yet. So it's things like that we look for. And another issue that I see with businesses is payroll. So some businesses in their growth phase are super excited about it. Like, awesome, I'm on board with being excited. I'm excited all the time. But they're super excited about their growth and they hire people before they actually have the income to support it. They're like, oh yeah, we're projecting that we're going to make gajillion dollars this year. We better hire to support the business for a gajillion dollars. Well, no. So that's something a CFO will help with, is making sure that you are taking those steps correctly, that you're spending the right amount of money, that you're investing in the right places for your business. And I get a lot of, well, I know my business, I know what I'm going to do, and I know how many people I need to do that. Okay, have you done it yet? So these are kinds of things, strategic planning things that we do to make sure that the income that we're going to generate is actually on par with the amount that we're going to spend.
Yeah.
We don't want to pickle.
Yeah.
We don't want to pickle.
Right. No, I get it because it's so, it's a fascinating topic because you're bringing in logic, and a lot of this decision making can be really emotional for especially a founding type of owner, right? And I've done all the mistakes. I know I'll make more, but I've done a lot of mistakes in my 8-year journey. I've hired people too quick. I've hired more than crazy. However, with the humility, with the honest conversations and clear optics, that preps me for making the difficult decisions and patience. Like, I'm learning patience right now. Like, I'm not a naturally patient person. I want to grow quick, but I got to be patient because it'll come, but it's got to kind of restructure the foundation a little bit.
Well, I always tell everybody that therapy is included in accounting services because a lot of the time I have to walk that fine line between having the entrepreneur be forward thinking, a dreamer, if you will, and also delusions of grandeur. So we have to know when to rein that in and how to have those conversations. A lot of it has to be very candid. So the relationship between yourself and your accountant should be a absolute trust relationship, and one that, you can bounce ideas off of each other. You listen to each other's opinions and you take that into consideration in conjunction with the data.
Yeah.
So people, I can't tell you how many times I've had the conversations with clients where they're in a complete panic and I have to talk them off the ledge. That's the thing, because that's the number one stressor for most people is financial.
Yeah, I get it. Heather, for business owners that want to reach out to you, maybe contract services, or at least learn more, have a conversation, how do people get a hold of you?
Do you have a place to put contact information?
We do.
All right.
Absolutely.
So definitely shoot me an email, and I'm pretty responsive. Actually,
okay.
Both Starke Business Services and Kare CFO, we both have generally a 24-hour turnaround time for emails. Even if it's just me going, I swear I will get back to you. I got your email. I'm working on it. But being responsive is one of the number one things that we value, because I'm your financial professional. Like, you need to be able to trust that I'm going to get back to you in a timely manner. I've had a lot of people to say to me, I haven't heard from my bookkeeper, my accountant, or, my CFO in 3 months. And I'm like, that's a problem. But yeah, I'm super responsive. So shoot me an email, and I'm happy to set something up.
I love that. Well, we'll definitely include some website URLs in the show notes. So if you're interested, check those out. I'll have your email in there as well. Do not hesitate to reach out to Heather. I will say that, I think along business journeys, there's going to be times where the businesses certainly outgrow certain services. And making my transition in this past year to connecting with you, Heather, and utilizing your service has just been a refreshing experience. And so I can't refer you enough. I really appreciate the work that you do and the professionalism that you bring. So thank you very much.
We're certainly happy to help. And we like you. That's a bonus, right?
It's important to like the people you work with.
Absolutely. And it's the same thing about your financial professionals as well. Like, we're not your stuffy, dry accounting people. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's awesome. Heather, I really appreciate the conversation today. I think there's some good value in here. And again, if there's a business owner thinking about their numbers, financial literacy, if you have some humility, like, reach out to Heather. She's awesome. And thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.